This morning's session is about public transportation's very strong and positive impacts on Main Street communities across America. Every day, more than 35 million passenger trips are taken in transit systems across America, and all doing an important job to enrich and enhance citizen quality of life. Indeed, 87% of all of those trips serve a purpose of either helping people make money by gaining access to jobs, or spending money to enjoy themselves and to take all that life has to offer.
There has to be a federal role in transportation. There's got to be a federal role in transit at the same time. I came here to get things done. When I campaigned on investing more in infrastructure, we didn't have a long-term water infrastructure bill. We didn't have a long-term highway bill. Well, we now have both, and there's still a need for more. And I'm glad to be able to work with this new administration to talk about their infrastructure priorities. I'm worried about the future of infrastructure investment.
There's nothing that has had a greater impact on investment and on activity in not only Mesa, Arizona, but Metro Phoenix than the investment in transit. The light rail system in Phoenix is 26 miles, runs through from downtown Mesa down through past Arizona State University, downtown Tempe, through downtown Phoenix, so it connects 3 cities. Investment in transit, especially the kind of investments we're making now, do have a real return.
In Chicago, and this is just my commuter rail system, not the Chicago Transit Authority, which is even much bigger. Just my commuter rail system, if we didn't have it, we would have to build 29 more lane miles of Chicagoland Expressway, which means less money for roads in downstate Illinois, let alone getting into any of the environmental costs that are out there.
We have the second largest FedEx hub in the world. They have 250 open positions. This is a company that pays great wages. They pay for educational reimbursement expenses. They have a hire from within policy, but they can't even fill the existing jobs they have because they can't get people to the work site. So our economic development efforts will be stymied if we're not able to provide great access to jobs via transit, but also making sure people have access to the educational opportunity, our community college systems. The backbone of our realigned system is the Red Line, which is awaiting a $75 million small starts grant. It'll be the first BRT line that we implement. It touches 92% of all of our region's college students within 3/4 of a mile. So it's about mobility, access to jobs, education, healthcare, and recreational opportunities.
These are not someone's ideas, these are facts, and it's proven time after time that Main Street is not only enhanced, in many cases, Main Street is reborn because of investments in high-capacity transit, especially rail.
One of the major drivers of our economic development in the central area of Chicago is mass transit. And mass transit, and I see I've got congressional staffers in this room, the millennial generation is now about or approaching 50% of our workforce. Millennials thrive on mass transit. In fact, Mark is here. Great quote I love to use from out of the mayor's office in Indianapolis is that trying to sell your city to millennials without an efficient mass transit system is like trying to sell them a phone without a camera. So you've got to know who your workforce is in the 21st century.
Many of our engines are Cummins engines that are built in Seymour, Indiana, the home of Vice President Mike Pence, using Allison transmissions, which are built right in the west side of Indianapolis. So there are, again, very big economic impacts beyond just that workforce mobility.
And very importantly, Mike Pence's grandfather was a CTA bus driver in Chicago.
For us sitting here, we're going, why are we having this discussion? Why is this even a debate? Because this should be the poster child of how government should invest and the process it should go through. In Phoenix, for example, we have about a 35 to 40% federal participation in our budgeted processes. Some of those go up to 50%. But all those, that 35%, as I've said, is all on the back end. As a local governments and region, we invest literally hundreds of millions of dollars up front. We stick our necks out. We take the risk. We don't invest in bad projects knowing, number one, that it's our money at risk, and number two, knowing that the federal government is going to be very demanding. It's a great partnership, a true partnership, a public-to-public partnership, local, state, regional, and the federal government coming together to make investments that otherwise we would be unable to make on our own.
I love to tell members of my legislature, if you're from Southern Illinois, why wouldn't you want to fund mass transit? Because mass transit is more efficient. We move over 2 million residents a day in metropolitan Chicago. 70% of the people in Illinois live in metropolitan Chicago. 70% of everybody that works in downtown Chicago takes mass transit to work. 91% of people that work at Motorola's world headquarters take mass transit. But because we do it more efficiently and we move 2 million people, there's less competition for road monies in downstate Illinois or in rural America because we move 2 million people much more efficiently.
These so-called skinny budgets, they're visions. They don't mean anything until we appropriate our dollars toward budgetary categories and we start debating our budget. I served 4 years under a different administration. They offered 4 budgets. And I can't remember a single member of his own party voting for his budget either. So don't get caught up in this debate of what's been proposed. Let's get caught up and participate in the debate of what's going to be the reality.
There are a number of projects that are at risk. There are a number of these new investment projects that are in the pipeline, many of which have been in 15, 20 years in the development stage. And now the administration's budget is saying, well, those are not really federal responsibility projects. That should be up to state and local government to continue the job of implementing those projects. So today there are more than 50 projects in that current status, 53 to be exact. There are about $38 billion worth of project activity, only half of which is proposed for federal funding, so around $20 billion. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There are countless 50, 75, another 100 projects that are not quite that far along in the development cycle that are likewise lined up for implementation. So this would clearly be a devastating impact if it were to be implemented. Now, just for that alone, the analysis showed that there's about 500,000 jobs, the hard hat, orange vest type implementation, construction, and implementation jobs that are going to be lost over the next 10 years if those projects are not implemented. Another 300,000 jobs that are higher productivity jobs that come from productivity improvements in the economy by healthy communities that likewise would be lost, and $90 billion of economic output that's not going to be gained if the proposal moves forward.